Hi everyone, welcome back to my random channel. What I want to talk about today are the pack openings that I did a few weeks back for Star Wars Unlimited, Twilight of the Republic, and those results that I got from weighing those packs and how that could impact the market going forward. Welcome to Eric's Random YouTube channel. Hopefully you guys all got a chance to watch the videos, right, where I done all the case openings a few weeks back when the set released for Star Wars Unlimited, right, the Twilight of the Republic, and a bunch of pre-release boxes as well, to kind of see, like, you know, when you weigh those packs, like, are there any hits that you can get? And originally, right, I was planning on releasing this very soon after the set had released and after I'd filmed all those videos talking about the state of the market and all these things, but you know, life has gotten kind of in the way that I haven't been able to really release very much since then, but that's just how it goes. So I'm making the video now, so there's a whole bunch of stuff that I was really going to talk about that I'm not going to talk about, like, you know, the state of the how cheap the Legendaries are, you know, how cheap boxes are and everything like that, right? Because they're all still incredibly cheap in comparison to how the game was in the past. The big thing I really want to talk about is pack weights, right? Weighing packs with an actual scale and then seeing, like, can you figure out if they have any, you know, desirable hits in them. And so you know, when I was doing my pack openings, I did get a few showcases, right? And you know, I was able to get some really great data to kind of figure out, can you figure out what kind of hits you have in there, right? Is it going to be a legendary, showcases, right? Hyperfoils? Can you pull any of those out from that data from looking at just simply the pack weights and stuff? And anybody who's new to trading card games may not know that weighing packs is a very common practice. It used to be a huge problem for Pokemon. You know, if you look up any vintage Pokemon packs, right, a lot of times they'll be listed as being either heavy or light, and they'll give like the weight of them. And, you know, usually the heavier ones are the ones that are going to have the foils in them that were much more rare back in the day. And then, you know, would have a lot more value. And so people, right, would be much more willing to gamble opening up those packs versus light packs, because in the light packs, you wouldn't really want to pay that much because there's a good chance you're not really going to get anything amazing out of them. And so, you know, that's been the case for a whole bunch of other trading card games as well. So what I wanted to do is see, is that going to be the case for Star Wars Unlimited, right? So I opened up and weighed a bunch of, you know, Twilight of the Republic packs. I bought, now that there was the reprint of Spark of Rebellion, I did that for 3 boxes as well of that. And, you know, luckily I was able to pull this amazing Jyn Erso showcase. I know it's not worth a lot, and I was very disappointed when I did pull it because, you know, I kind of jinxed myself. I'm going to go ahead and say, I'm going to predict, right, that this right here has a showcase in it. Which showcase? I don't know. Hopefully, right, it's like Leia or you know, that's a good one. I already have Hera. I mean, Boba Fett is still like a very valuable one. But I'll be happy with, I mean, hopefully it's not IG-88 or Jyn, right? Those are pretty low, but, you know, we'll see what we get here. Hopefully it's a good one, but I'm predicting that we're going to see a showcase in this pack. So go through, right? And so what we have is I just said I hope not, but it's a Jyn Erso. But I said, saying that I didn't want to pull a Jyn, and then that's exactly what I pulled. But it's a very beautiful card, and it's a great character. It's just, unfortunately, she's not very good in the game. But that's fine. I also weighed some Shadows of the Galaxy packs. I didn't rip any of those, right, because I didn't feel confident with what the weights were at that time to be able to make any good conclusions in terms of like what we're going to get out of it. But that's going to change. I'll talk about that in a second. So in terms of weighing packs, right, the big thing, you know, to do when you're weighing them, right, is to weigh them on a scale. And I made a whole Excel sheet where I wanted to then look at, you know, what essentially is the average pack weight of just all the packs. Which one, like, what's the average pack weight of ones that have a hyperspace or more in there, that have, you know, hyperspace foils, which ones have legendaries, which ones have showcases. Because I did, for Twilight of the Republic, I did pull a few legendary showcases, right? I pulled Nala Se, I pulled Count Dooku, I pulled an Obi-Wan, and I also pulled a Jango, but I already sold that one because it hit its peak at like $400+ a few weeks back after it had a really good showing at I think SGCCon in Columbus, right? And so, you know, it jumped up pretty high there. Obviously, I jumped on the bandwagon to sell that out there. Kind of, you know, I kind of did want to hold on to it originally. but I didn't want to play Django, so that's why I was like, I'll buy it back when when the price goes down eventually, in those cases. But that's fine. But I did pull a bunch of showcases, right? So I do have some showcase data. Now, granted, I did open 3 cases, right? That's 18 booster boxes, which multiply that by 24 is a ton of packs, on top of a ton of pre-release boxes as well. And so I have a wide range of data for all those different pieces. And so in terms of pack weights, the median pack weight of a Star Wars Unlimited pack for set 3 was 31.209 grams, right? That's what the average pack weight is. There was some fluctuation, right? Some were down to being 31.1 or lower grams. Some were a little bit higher in the 31.3 grams, right? But that's that was the average weight that we had right there. Now, if we look at packs where there were legendaries, and I pulled a ton of legendaries, some boxes had more than others, but I pulled a bunch of legendaries. And so if we look at what the average pack weight of a pack that has a legendary in it, it comes in at 31.202 grams, right? That's pretty close. And so if you take that and you put it into a t-test, right, to kind of compare 2 populations and see, is there a significant difference between those 2 populations? Can you have a confidence that you can be able to distinguish the 2 of them? When I ran that, the p-value that I got for that was 0.63. Now, if you're not familiar with what that means, if you want to have essentially be 95% confident that there is a difference between 2 different populations using, a t-test, what you want that p-value to be below 0.05, right? So at 0.63, you can't really confidently say that there's a difference between those 2 populations. If we go and we look at hyperspace packs, right, packs that had at least 1 hyperspace in them, that had a mean pack weight of 31.214 grams. And the p-value there was 0.65. So again, you can't distinguish between packs that have 1 hyperspace, no matter what kind of hyperspace it was, whether it was a common, uncommon, legendary, or hyperspace foil or anything like that, right? There was no way to distinguish those 2, right? It comes at 0.65. And hyperspace foils also, right? Those had an average pack weight of 31.213, pretty similar to what just regular old hyperspace cards were. And that had a p-value of 0.71. So again, there's no distinction between those 2 populations, between, just any pack and a hyperspace foil pack, right? There's no way to weigh out the difference between the 2 of them, which kind of makes sense because there's only going to be 1 foil card in every pack pretty much. And so the foiling isn't going to change or add any kind of weight, right? There's no difference between a rare and a legendary, right? When you look at those slots, right? That's why the legendary seems the same as all the other packs there as well, right? All it is just a difference in a small letter, like a little bit of ink difference there. And that can't really be distinguished by weighing, right? And then same in hyperspace, right? You can kind of make a distinction like, oh, maybe there's a different amount of ink being used. But again, right, it's so minimal that there isn't a big difference. However, considering that I opened for Twilight of the Republic, I opened up, I got 4 showcases in all of my openings. When I look at that average pack weight, right, it comes in at 31.488 grams, right? That's considerably higher from what the average pack weight is. And if you run the t-test, you get a p-value of 0.003. So you can be incredibly confident that there is a difference between a pack that has a showcase in it and a pack that has nothing, right? Just the average pack, right? So if you're weighing packs and you get something that's close to 31.5 grams, you can be pretty confident, and I was multiple times on my streams, that pack is going to have a showcase in it versus others, right? And I called it out a few times. There was one instance where when I was opening up the Nalase one, I was just like in auto mode and I weighed it, and like the pack weight came in at that high, and I set it and I typed it in and I wasn't focused, and I opened it up and then I looked at it and then I saw, right, the Nalase showcase, and I was like, wait a second. And I was mad at myself, right? Because I didn't do like the whole like reveal where I was just like, this one's going to have a showcase in it, right? I did end up doing that for the Django one. I did end up doing that one for Jin when I had done that for, the set 1 boxes that I had also opened in a different video. I also did that for the Count Dooku, where all I did was just simply weigh a bunch of packs, and then once I hit one, right, I said that I was going to open it and look at it, and I was able to correctly predict, right, it had a showcase in there. You can't, I think, judge based off of them, which showcase you're going to have, which makes sense because there's not going to be a material difference between an Anakin Skywalker showcase and a Jango showcase and a Newt Gunray showcase, right? They're all going to be pretty much the same. But in terms of thinking about what a showcase from a material standpoint looks like in comparison, right? It's foiled on both sides, right? So the foiling material is going to have an impact on the weight. And if you have in every pack, right, essentially the same set of cards, and the only thing that may get swapped out in a showcase is that leader slot, all of a sudden for a card that is somewhat heavier probably, and I'll show again the data in a second that they are heavier, you'll be able to weigh those out, and you'll be able to figure out which ones have showcases in them. And so, with that data and all the different showcases that I have, I also had a bunch of set 2 showcases just to kind of get some data there. And there's a very interesting thing that I found out from that that I'll talk about in a second. But for, if we take just, your normal leader card, right? No hyperspace, anything, right? That comes in with an average, weight of 1.826 grams, right? That's how much one leader card weighs. If you look at a hyperspace variant, right, that has about an average weight of 1.821 grams. But if you then take an average weight of the showcases, right, and this includes set 3, set 2, and set 1 showcases that I had on hand to weigh, those come in at 2.01 grams, right? So that's, about 2.5 to 300, or not 2.5, sorry, 250 to 300 milligrams heavier compared to the normal ones, right? And so which tracks with what we were seeing in terms of the difference between the average pack weight and the average showcase pack weight, right? That was about, 250 to 300 milligram difference there if you think about, variations in terms of their weight there. One thing, though, that was interesting is that when I then looked at and I did the math to see like what the average difference was between a regular leader card and a showcase, it came in at 0.278 grams. And the average difference for, hyperspace with a showcase came in at 0.277 grams, which if you look at, the numbers, again, tracks pretty closely. But when I looked at only set 3, right, the average set 3 showcase was actually 2.121 grams, right? So a little bit higher, about by 100 milligrams, the average showcase weight was, right, the difference there, which was, in my opinion, like very, very interesting that was the case, because I wouldn't have thought that there would be a difference between the different sets, because, right, set 3 regular cards came in at 1.82 and 1.825, right, between the regular and the hyperspace leaders from what those weights were, and then the regular difference, right, the difference between the regular or the hyperspace with the showcases came in at 0.302, 0.296 grams, right? So it's a lot heavier of a difference, right? Closer to 300 milligrams for the set 3 showcases. For the set 2 ones that I have, right, and the ones that I have on hand, not to brag, right, I have Boba Fett that I had pulled. I bought this Hunter right here. I bought this Bo-Katan, and I pulled, the king himself, Lando Calrissian, originally. And I also pulled a Moff Gideon one as well. Where did I put that one? Where did I put Moff Gideon? I pulled a Moff Gideon as well. But what's interesting, and I'll talk about that in a second, the interesting thing there with the Moff Gideon, right? Because Moff Gideon, regular leader, you're not going to find that in a box. But the weight of it came in pretty similarly. Weight and the set 2 showcases, getting back on track, was 2.07 grams, right, is what the average set 2 showcase weight was, right, which is about 100 and, not 100, sorry, like 50 milligrams lighter compared to set 3 showcases, right? And that kind of tracks also with what the average differences were, right? Because the set 2 regular leaders and hyperspace leaders, they came in about the same average weight, right? 1.834 and 1.817, right? So pretty similar, like, card weights. But the difference, right, was 0.240 and 0.258 between the regular and the in a showcase and a hyperspace in a showcase, which means that set 2 showcases are actually a little bit lighter than the set 3 showcases, and also I only had Jyn Erso was the only set 1 showcase that I have on hand that I could weigh, right? That followed the set 3 trend. But it was interesting there, and it kind of made me think back to during set 2 when people were opening all their packs at the beginning and everybody was showing off all of their hits. one big thing was that a lot of people were showing their showcases that had small errors on them where the foiling was kind of coming off, or there was like bubbling in the foiling, and the foiling just wasn't great, which makes me think that for set 2 showcases, what may have happened was that there was either less adhesive used to put the foiling onto the cards, or a different material for the foiling, or a thinner stock for the foiling, or something like that, that results in about a 50 milligram difference from what we had seen for the set, from what I have seen for the set 3 and set 1 showcases, right? And that, was pretty interesting to see that there was, it doesn't seem like a lot, but when you're working with this kind of data, right, 50 milligrams is a pretty considerable difference, right? That's about a sixth of less. A set 2 showcase weighs about a sixth less than a set 3 showcase does. And that kind of tracked there. And that actually became really interesting for me because when I was going through and I was opening up all of those set 2 showcase, not opening up, cracking the boxes and weighing like a case of set 2 Shadows of the Galaxy, packs, I saw a few packs that were a little bit heavier, but they weren't so much heavier that I was completely confident that if I were to open those would have a showcase in them. But now that I've looked at this data, it could very well be, right, that some of those may have had a showcase in them. So I'm actually very interested in, revisiting again and actually opening up those packs and kind of seeing like, what is it that do any of those have showcases in them, or is this just simply an anomaly where those packs were just a little bit heavier because there was maybe a little bit more packaging or a little bit more glue that was used for the packs or something like that. So I thought that was really interesting. And so I'm going to revisit that, and that's kind of cool. But the difference in terms of like how much a showcase weighs versus a normal thing also makes sense, because if you weigh and you look at the difference between just a regular card and its foil variant, that has a weight difference of 0.136, right? 136 milligrams, right? So you multiply that by 2, that comes into about 270, which is about halfway between, the set 2 and the set 3 showcases. Right, because you're foiling both sides, right? And same thing in terms of the difference between a Hyperspace card and a Hyperspace foil. That comes in at 0.127, right? 127 milligrams in that case, right? So the foiling is probably fairly similar. Maybe the foiling is a little bit thinner for the unit cards, right, for the regular cards, and that's why it comes in being a little bit less compared to the set 3 showcases. And they may have realized during production, during set 2, where they were using then the same process that they were using for the foiling of the regular cards on the showcases, that's why they were getting the quality control issues. And then they just upped up, whatever it was that they did for set 3 to make them, just that much more heavier, right? Another 50 milligrams. But I thought that was interesting, right? That was really a big thing there. Now, so as I said, right, you can weigh the packs and you can figure out which ones have showcases in them. And there's going to be, and the reason why this is kind of important is that there are a lot of shops and people who sell online who are kind of scammy. Well, not scammy, that's kind of an extreme word. Kind of scummy, right? Where they may, open up a box, weigh all the packs, figure out which ones have a showcase in it, take that one out, and then they'll sell the rest, right? The rest will still have Legendaries, Hyperspace foils, all those things in there, right? But the showcase cards are the true chase cards in Unlimited at the moment, where, you're going to get, be able to, pay back whatever it is you paid for your box, right? Especially, for set 3, considering that boxes are $65 or something like that at the moment. And even though Newt Gunray is the cheapest one, I think he's still in the like $70 or $80 range, that if you were to pull a showcase out of one, you could, pay that box back, and then you can just sell those individual packs, and it would just be straight profit at that point. Or, right, you can be somebody who's incredibly shady, and you get a box and you carefully open it, you go through, you weigh all the packs, you pull out the pack that has the showcase in it, and then you replace that pack in the box, and then you reseal it, and then you sell that box as if it was never opened, right? You claim that it's sealed, but you know that there's no showcase in that one, and you're gonna be able to get your money back from selling it, with, minus fees or whatever other stuff. But you'll still make out like a bandit because you'll have that pack that has the showcase in it. Because again, right, that's the chase card. That's the one that's really worth it. And so, right, so that's a thing to be very mindful of when you are buying individual packs, for sure. especially online, right? I would guarantee you, if you're buying individual packs online, that whoever is opened it probably went through and weighed them or did something with them to kind of figure it out. Set 3, right, the collation issue got fixed, so you don't have to worry about them, pulling out your legendaries like you did for set 2, right? That was a huge issue there that people were very concerned with. But showcases, right, the chance that you're going to be pulling one of those from an individual packs, I think, is incredibly low, right? Unless you see somebody opening up the booster box right in front of you, the chance of you getting one of those showcases, I think, is going to be pretty low. Because, again, you can buy a scale, and you can weigh it out, and as long as it goes, down to, is accurate within, essentially, like, a hundredth, of a gram, or not even that necessarily that much, right? Like, if it can go down to, like, weigh something that's being a difference between 31.3 grams and 31.5 grams, right? They're probably going to be able to figure out which one has a showcase in it from that. So that's a bit of a thing. Now, my suggestion, right, for Fantasy Flight Games is that maybe they go take the approach that like Magic and Pokemon have done, where they add additional token cards, right? We already have token cards that are on the backs of the bases. There's a whole discussion that can be had about the rare bases should be moved into the normal base slot as well, just the same way that rare leaders are with the common leaders. But I think that's even more the case, because you may then want to add one extra card that's a token card. And now that, for set 4, there, I believe, was the spoiler or whatever, where there's going to be like X-Wing and TIE Fighter tokens along with the shield and experience tokens in this new set, that you can then, change how heavy those are to kind of equalize the pack weight, so that you can't easily figure out whether or not there's a showcase inside of there. Now, Carbonite packs, right? Somebody, had spoiled the, contents that are going to be coming up for that. And if you look at that, there's going to be a leader that's going to be either Hyperspace or a showcase. And I already showed you that you can, if that's the only difference between two packs, you're going to be able to weigh out the packs to figure out if it's going to have a showcase or not. And it's going to have some Hyperspace cards and some foil cards, right? And then some, Hyperspace foil cards as well. And then there's going to be one new card, right? Prestige cards. Nobody knows what those look like. Nobody knows anything about them, right? Are they just going to be different types of art? Are they going to have a different type of treatment to them, right? Where they might be like textured or have some kind of special foiling or something like that with them. But the big thing in my mind is, well, and like the thing is too, is like a lot of people kind of feel as if for those Carbonite boosters, right? Because they're going to be $25, $30 a piece. What's the value going to be, right? Are those prestige cards really going to hold their value? But a big question I have too then is going to be like, is there going to be some kind of big special differences between some of those cards that can maybe, alter what the pack weights are? Because if prestige cards kind of fall through and the only chase cards, even in the collector's boosters or showcases, again, we're going to fall into the same trap where all I have to do is buy a box of collector boosters, right? Or if I'm a store, like have a box of collector boosters, open it up, weigh the packs, and if one pack is like 300 milligrams heavier, I'll know that that's a showcase. I can take that out and I can sell the rest of the collector's boosters, knowing full well that that those aren't going to have showcases in them, right? Because I've weighed them all. And then it just kind of comes down to like how lucky people get with whatever legendaries or prestige cards they pull out of it. And if those, aren't going to be very valuable, I mean, Hyperspace foils have tanked big time from a selling standpoint. It really comes down to like how strong the collector's market's going to be there for those prestige cards. Because again, right, the showcases, you're just going to be able to weigh those and pull that stuff out. So it'll be interesting to see how all of that changes. I'm definitely going to try and get my hands on a fair amount of those Carbonite boosters to weigh them and then go through the process and see like, can you weigh out and distinguish between the different packs? I'm also going to, buy myself, obviously, the regular set because I love playing the game. It's a fun game. To kind of see then, what, are you still able to weigh out the showcases for set 4? Probably. I don't think that there's going to be a huge correction in that market or like in the manufacturing process between now when they've probably already printed everything and it's probably sitting in a warehouse or at least getting, stocked up in a warehouse versus, March when it releases and, they go through and they're like, oh no, right, Eric's released this video where he's like exposed that you can weigh showcases. But yeah, so in conclusion, right, you can weigh packs to figure out which showcases, whether a pack has a showcase. You can't do it for Legendaries. You can't do it for Hyperspace foils, right? You can't do it for Hyperspace cards. So those are always going to still be a gamble, with collation being essentially fixed, where you can't really predict what's going to be in a pack or in a booster box. You know, it brings a lot more randomness there. But again, showcases are the real chases at the moment, right? Because the Legendary market completely collapsed at the beginning of this set. That opening up packs really is going to be just for the love of the game, I think, at the moment, right? For this set. We'll see how it goes for set 4, right? If there's any value that can really get out beyond showcases of opening packs. But thank you again for watching and listening. If you want to support me, you know, the easiest way is, right, watch my videos. I'm really close to being able to get monetized here on YouTube. So all I need, you know, if 90 people just simply watch the 10-hour stream, right, I'll hit that 4,000 minute mark, and then I'll be able to start monetizing and getting some of that YouTube revenue, right? If you want to go to my TCG player shop or my eBay shop to buy all the cards that I unpack, right? Pretty much most of them that I unpack on stream, I always, like, you know, end up selling. It's because I don't have a need for all of them, and I'm doing this, you know, to kind of get a good sense and, like, do this to figure out for people who may not be familiar with a lot of these TCGs, right, that you can weigh the packs and figure out things. I've opened up Pokemon packs. You can't really distinguish those. I did get a few interesting, cool cards there for Surging Sparks, but you weren't able to really distinguish there. For Magic, it's kind of like all over the place with how things, when I weighed those packs, were. Again, you can't really distinguish it, but for Unlimited, you absolutely can for showcases. So thank you again for watching. Hopefully, right, you guys will catch my some other videos. Probably the next one I'm going to do related to Unlimited is going to actually be a deck tech video about my Hera yellow deck that I've been working on. I'm very excited about Hera. Hopefully set 4 has a whole bunch of Spectres. That's what I'm really banking on. So thanks again for watching. I'll see you guys later. Stay random, guys.